step. Hold on. Plus b. Is this guy already in it? Y equals mx plus b? No, so we've got some work to do, okay? So I want you to write down y equals mx plus b. We're not done until it matches. So what do we got to do? It's negative y plus, what was it, 5x equals 0? What do I got to do? Alec? Say what?
Put the 5x
Oh.
and you gotta make the 5x a negative.
Good. So subtract 5x from both sides. I love it, Alec. How many of us did that? Let's go. So minus y equals negative 5x. Yes? It's almost there. Not quite, though. Almost there. Caitlin? Yeah. Divide by a negative 1. What happens when we divide by a negative? Natalie?
It becomes positive.
Becomes positive. So y equals?
5x.
Are we done? Well, with this part? Yeah, it matches, right? What do I do next? What was step number 2? AJ?
Find the y-intercept.
Let's go. Our y-intercept. What is the y-intercept of this guy?
0.
It's 0. Because there's no b value. So b must be equal to 0. Which means what point is going to be on my graph, Gabriel?
0, or 5, 0.
Nope. Caitlin? Caitlin?
Oh, me?
Yep.
0,
0, 0. Okay. Did anyone find the slope?
Yes.
Okay, what was it? 5. And if we write it as a fraction, what is it? 5 over 1. Okay. So we started our graph, or should have started our graph, at what point? At the origin, or 0, 0. And then how are we moving if our slope is 5 over 1? Colin?
5 up and then 1 to the
You're amazing. 5 up and then 1 to the right. How many points does Mr. Yurko need? 3. So up 5 again and then over 1 to the right 1. Guys, could we have moved down 5? Yes, technically we could have. But if we move down 5, where do we go after that? To the left 1. So we could have gone down 5 and to the left 1. Look, this point is also going to be on our line. Draw a straight line through all of the points.
And how come we're able to go down?
Okay, I'll explain that in a second, David. And then this is the correct line. How many of us got that? Let's go. Okay, that means we graphed it correctly. This question had 2 parts, though. What was the second part? What is the x-intercept?
0.
It's still 0, okay? It crosses the x-axis at the point 0. Okay, David asked a very good question. Why is this not turning? Turn, baby. Turn. Hold on. David, your question is why can we move down and then to the left? Because our slope, you agree, was 5 over 1, correct? Do you agree that that's the same as negative 5 over negative 1? Because what are 2 negatives divided by each other? Positive, right? So if we go down 5, but we go to the left 1, isn't that the same as going up 5 to the right 1? Okay? This is why slope is so cool, okay? Because it works in more than one way. How many people feel comfortable with the warm-up if I were to ask you this on Thursday? Okay, if you did not feel comfortable, get comfortable, people. We're doing more graphing today. It's the premise of today's lesson, okay? Today, what we are doing is we are talking about something called a transformation. McCarvin. The x-intercept. So take this line and then tell me where does it cross the x-axis, which is in red? At what point? McCarvin, at what point? 0, right? The x value is 0. That is your x-intercept, right? And your y-intercept is where the graph crosses this y-axis in red. Do you see the difference? They're the same point for this example, right? But let's say this was our line. What's the x-intercept of this blue line? Oh, you can't see? Here, what's the x-intercept of this blue line? -6. It's wherever your graph is going to cross the x-axis. Garnice, you with me? Alfred? Okay. What other questions do we have from the warm-up? Mia?
How did you get for the y-intercept 0, 0?
Because is anything being added to 5x? Because remember, our formula is y equals mx plus b. Do you agree the number in front of x is 5? So our slope is 5. But what's being added after x? Nada. So it has to be 0. Does that make sense? Okay, what else? We're Gucci? Okay. So, people. Let's talk about transformations. Okay. We're going to start with translations and reflections, okay? Write this down. A translation is when you add or subtract a number, and a reflection is when you multiply by -1. Translations are when you add or subtract, and reflections are when you multiply by -1, okay? Now, each of these problems is going to start off with something called a parent function, okay? Your parent function is going to be a linear equation, and it's just going to be a basic function, okay? It's going to be super standard. And then a transformation is going to happen to that function that's going to change the way that it looks, okay? Think about, like, have you guys heard the term glow up, right? Like when people, like, they transform, like their face transform as they age. Think of a transformation as something's going to change in the graph, okay? So you may put a filter on your Instagram photo, whatever it is, but you're changing the graph a little bit, okay? A translation is when you add or subtract something to your function, okay? So check it out. Don't write anything down. I need to see eyeballs. Eyeballs, okay? If you are adding or subtracting inside the parentheses, do you see how this x is being subtracted by h? This will always, 1,000% of the time, be a horizontal transformation. Write that down. Okay? So when it's inside the parentheses, when your transformation is inside, you are horizontally transforming your graph.
Transforming it into what?
You're going to find out, okay? Now, horizontal means what two directions? Left or right, okay? Left or right. Now, if this value of h is positive, normally when things are positive, do we move to the left or to the right? To the right. So if h was positive, we would move our graph to the right. If h was negative, where would we move our graph? To the left, okay? Do you guys kind of understand a little bit? Okay. What changed to make this vertical? Where is the K, David? Good. When it's out, circle that. When it's outside the parentheses, it is going to be a vertical transformation. So, for all of these transformations, you have to answer 3 questions. Is it horizontal or is it vertical? What kind of transformation is it? And then in which direction am I moving? Okay? 3 questions. Horizontal or vertical? What kind of transformation? And then in what direction? Okay? All of our parent functions in this lesson, we'll do them in black. And then our transformations, let's try to keep them in blue. Okay? All right. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with letter A. And f of x is going to be our parent. Please underline this in black and put that this is your parent function. We all know how to graph something that is f of x equals 2x minus 1, okay? Treat f of x like y, right? It's in mx plus b form. What is my y-intercept here? It's -1, okay? My y-intercept is -1. Go down to your graph and start at what point? -1. On which axis? The y-axis. So put a dot there. Then, what else do I know about this equation? AJ? The slope is 2/1. If my slope is 2 over 1, who's been paying attention? How do I move from that point? Austin?
Up 2 and right 1.
Bingo. I'm going to move up 2 and then to the right 1. And how many times do I do it? Well, I need 3 points, so twice, right? Up 2 to the right 1. You should get a line that looks like this. Did we get this line? Okay. Label this. What was our function? It was f of x, correct? And also put the word parent next to it. Okay? This is the original. This is the parent function. This is where we started. The second, which is going to be in blue, is going to be our transformation. Okay? All right. So go back up and look at g of x. Underline it in blue and label it your transformation. So the name of our transformation function is this guy on the left-hand side. It's g of x. And he is doing something to our original parent function. In this case, it's f of x plus 3. This plus 3 is what our transformation is. We are adding 3 to all of the f of x values. Now, you have to ask yourselves the 3 questions. Number 1, is this a vertical or a horizontal transformation? Now, that all depends on where the plus 3 is. Is the plus 3 inside the parentheses or outside?
Outside.
It's outside. Now, who's paying attention? If it's outside, will that be a vertical or a horizontal? David? Excellent. So write the word vertical. We know it's vertical. Okay? And do you guys agree we are adding 3 here? If you're adding, is that a translation or a reflection? It's a translation. So you're going to say a vertical translation. And our k value, okay, is what's being added. How much are we adding here? 3. So k is equal to 3. That means that it's a positive 3. And if you're vertically translating something, if you're vertically shifting something 3 positive units, what direction should you be moving? Up 3. Yes?
Where'd you get the K from?
Okay, so that goes back to our original expression, right? So any vertical translation is going to be this value k. So whatever's being added or subtracted. Anytime it's horizontal, we're going to use the letter h. Does that make more sense, Mia? Okay? Yeah, Matthew.
When it says up 3, why can't it be to the side, to the right side 3?
Ah, that's a very good question. You guys agree that a positive 3 is either moving up or moving to the right? Why does this one have to be up? Because David said it was vertical, right? Would vertical mean move to the right? Does it make sense now? McCarvin? Yes. Okay. So watch. All of our points need to be shifted up 3 units. So take each point and move it 3 units above where it started. Caitlin, this is where the transformation happens, okay? So take this guy and move him 1, 2, 3 units up. So my new point is 2, 6. Take 1, 1 and move him 3 units up. So 1, 2, 3. What's my new point? 1, 4. And then take the last point, which is at 0, -1. Move him 3 units up. What's the new point? 0, 2. It's the exact same line, but what's different about it, guys? It's just higher. It's shifted how many units up? 3. Now, be careful here. We need to label our parent. And what do we label the blue graph? What was the name of our transformation? What was the function name? G of x, okay? So we need to label it G of x, okay? All right, I saw some hands up. Mia, what's up?
I don't understand how you got the points for the blue line.
I just moved each of them up 3 units, okay? So I took this guy, Mia, look, eyeballs. And I went 1, 2, 3, here's my new point. I took this guy, 1, 2, 3, here's my new point. This guy, 1, 2, 3, here's my new point. Does that make more sense? Okay. Other questions? Now, Translations are just shifts. So we're shifting our graph, okay? Let's do another one, okay? So in number 2, the parent function is the exact same guy. So just copy the black graph and copy him again. Remember, parent functions are going to be in black today, okay? So it's still 2x minus 1. Start at negative 1, go up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1. This is still our parent function. And we label him f of x, and we're going to put the word parent.
Wait, why'd you do that on the second problem?
Because they're actually using this f of x. Do you see letter A? It has 2 parts. So they're using the same function for both of them. Okay? So, Caitlin, when you zoom out, you should notice that the 2 f of x functions, the 2 black functions, are the exact same line. Do you see that? Okay. Now, our transformation is different. Okay? Our transformation in this problem is h of x. Ask yourself the 3 questions. Is it vertical or horizontal? And how do you know? Is this a vertical or a horizontal transformation? And how do you know? AJ?
Horizontal because it's in parentheses.
Very good. Okay? So our transformation is this plus 3. Do you guys agree? The plus 3 was next to the x, and it's inside the parentheses. Therefore, it is a horizontal transformation. Now, are we adding or subtracting here or multiplying? We're adding. And addition means it's what kind of transformation? It's a translation, okay? So it's a horizontal translation, which means it's going to be a shift up, down, left, or right. And that's where we have to figure out is which direction we're now moving it. If we're horizontally translating it, what 2 directions could we possibly go? Left or right? Now comes the tricky part. Remember, your formula is x minus h. Write that up top. X minus h. We want x minus h to match x plus 3. What would the value of h have to be to match that?
Negative.
H needs to be what? Negative 3. Okay. I know this was going to throw some of us off. We're going to do plenty of examples, okay? Just bear with me for the beginning. If my h value, if my transformation is a negative 3, where should I move? Not down, to the left 3, because we said it was what kind of transformation? Horizontal. So now we're going to move every single point to the left 3 units.
Why does it have to be negative?
Because do you agree that if we plugged in a positive 3 here, it would be x minus 3? You're plugging in for h, right? So this would be x minus 3 if h was positive. We don't want, that doesn't match x plus 3. You have to make it a negative because x minus negative 3 then will change into x plus 3. Okay? Does that make more sense? A little bit? Okay. So all of my points, I'm going to take them and move them how? To the left 3. So take this first point up here and move them 1, 2, 3 units to the left and draw a new point. Take the guy down below, 1, 2, 3, draw a new point. And take the one at the bottom, 1, 2, 3, draw a new point. And then draw your line. And this was what was our, it wasn't g of x. What was it called? It was h of x. Okay? That is our new transformation. Okay? If you want to draw like a red arrow showing that you shifted everything to the left 3, draw it. Mia, what's up?
Can you explain how you got negative 3?
Yep. So, remember, it has to match x minus h, right? So we're like, okay, what can we put for h that would make it match x plus 3, right? Now, if you made h positive 3, it would still read as x minus 3. Do you agree? But we don't want it to be x minus 3. We want it to be x plus 3. So we make x a negative 3, and then it matches.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. Because our h value, okay? We're using this h value, and that'll tell us which direction to move, okay? So horizontal says left or right. Do you agree? But since it's h is a negative value, negative means move to the left.
And you wouldn't move down.
You would not move down because it has to be horizontal, okay? Karen?
Why not to the right? Why is the
Because it was a negative. If h is a negative value, you're going to move to the left, okay? Alec?
I get it, except this one thing. I don't
Okay.
understand.
What's your question?
I'm a little lost about like how did for the original line, how did you get to 0, 1, 1, 1, and 2, 3?
Okay, so because that's from our parent function. Remember, we all labeled this the parent, right? So we're using that parent for both equations, okay? So this parent function, 2x minus 1, it told us where to put our original function. Mia?
Can you go back to the
Oh, right, yeah.
where it's like in parentheses x plus 3? I
Yep.
don't understand like where you got the x minus h.
Okay, this is just standard. You have to know that, okay? That is just good. That's going to be how we set up every single horizontal translation, okay? X minus h. Let's do another one, okay? Scroll down to the next page. We've got f of x equals 3x plus 1. This is now our new, what? Parent, okay? So write parent underneath. And let's graph him. How do we graph this parent function? Christian? Start at 1, which is the y-intercept, and then move where? Up 3 to the right 1. Up 3 to the right 1. Do it twice. Draw a line through them. And label it f of x, and label it your parent. Okay, now let's talk about what kind of filter we're adding to our function, to our parent, okay? Because we want to make our parent look good. So g of x is our transformation. Let's answer our 3 questions. Is it horizontal or vertical? Why? Good. It's outside the parentheses. Do we all see that? What's changing our graph? The -2. Do you guys agree? And it's outside, so it must be a vertical transformation. Second question. What kind of transformation is it? It's a translation. Why? Good. We are subtracting. Do you agree? Anytime you're adding or subtracting, what kind of transformation is it? Translation, okay? So it's a vertical translation in what direction? What is my k value here? It's -2. It's -2. If my k value is -2, where do I move my graph? Down 2. Those of you that said to the left, what are you forgetting?
It's a vertical.
That it's vertical. And vertical, does that mean to the left? Nope. That means down 2 units. So on my parent function, each point, I'm going to move it where? Down 2. Down 2. Down 2. I will in a moment. And what do I call this function? G of x. AJ. Correct.
So how come K is equal to negative?
So how come k is equal to -2? Because remember, our formula is f of x plus k, right? So whatever k is, it's outside the parentheses. That's what you're going to be doing to your graph. Okay? Yes, Caitlin?
How do you tell whether it's like a k equals or if it's an x minus h?
That depends on where you're adding or subtracting. In this example, were you adding or subtracting inside or outside your parentheses? Outside. So that's when you know it has to be a k value. because it's going to be vertical. Okay? Let's do a few more. Letter C. Same parent function. Yeah. Same parent function, but a different transformation. Okay? So copy down the same parent function. Start at y-intercept of 1. Go up 3 units to the right 1. Go up 3 units to the right 1. And draw your line. This is your parent, f of x. It's the same parent function as the last one, okay? We ready? All right. Who thinks they can answer all 3 of the questions? Matthew?
Wait, what all 3? There's only 1.
So, but like all 3 questions about the transformation. What kind of transformation is it?
It's horizontal.
Very good. Why?
Because the parentheses.
Okay.
It's the translation.
Good. Why?
Because it's adding or subtracting.
Good.
And what's the last one?
So the last one is how much we're moving it and where.
2 units to the left.
Close. So remember, this has to match x minus h, correct? What value of h here would make this match x minus 2? H must be equal to 2. Do you guys agree? So now if h is equal to 2, what would a 2 determine how do I move if we're horizontally translating it? It's 2 units to the right. Okay? That means we're going to take each of our points and shift them 2 units to the right. So take this point up top, move it 2 units. Take the middle point, move it 2 units. And take the bottom point, move it 2 units. And this one, what do we label the transformation? H of x, okay? Look back up, Matthew, at the original one. Do you see how it's called h of x?
Oh.
Okay. AJ, what's up?
Whatever it is in the parentheses is the opposite.
Okay, I'm about to get to that. Last year, guys, a lot of my students found it very helpful, okay? If you want to write this down, anything inside your parentheses, okay? They called it opposite world. Anything inside your parentheses, they called it opposite world. And anything outside the parentheses, so on the left or on the right, they called it the real world. Okay? Anything that happens in opposite world, it's going to be opposite whatever you thought would occur. Okay? So, like, if we're subtracting 2, right, like we did in this one, normally you would think, okay, we're moving 2 to the left. Do you guys agree? Since it has to be horizontal. In opposite world, you actually end up moving 2 to the right because the formula is x minus h. Okay? We're going to try 2 more where we're just going to identify the transformation. We're not going to graph it. Okay? David, how are you feeling? Good? Okay. That helps, the opposite world? Okay. Write these down. P of x equals f of x plus 3. No. Plus 7. And t of x equals f of x minus 1. Okay, let's look at P of X first. What do we know about this transformation? Christian?
Horizontal.
It's horizontal. Why?
Because it's inside the parentheses.
Good. It's horizontal because it's inside the parentheses. Mia?
It's a translation
Excellent. Why?
because it's adding and subtracting.
Good. This is a translation. Okay. What would my H value be? What kind of horizontal transformation is this? AJ?
To the left, 7.
H would need to be -7, so it's going to move to the left 7 units. Okay? Now let's talk about this. Was this 7 located in opposite world? Yes. Opposite world is between your parentheses. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
If it's in opposite world, okay, normally when you add 7, do you move to the left or to the right? To the right. But in opposite world, where do you actually move? To the left 7 units. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the blue one, are we dealing with opposite world? No. Why not? It's not inside the parentheses. So check it out. First things first, would it be vertical or horizontal for the blue one? It would be vertical. What kind of transformation would it be? Not a reflection. It's a translation. Why is it a translation? We're subtracting. We are not multiplying by -1 here. That negative would need to be in front of the F or in front of the X in order to be multiplication, okay? So this is a vertical translation. Whoops. Who can tell me where I'm moving and by how much? Caitlin? Let's go down 1. Are we starting to get the hang of it?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Alfonso? I love to hear that, okay? Now,
So,
go ahead, David.
so when we do the translation for the X, it'll be P of X.
Which one?
Right.
Yeah, so the red one, when you graph it, you would label that one P of X. And for this one, for the blue one, you would label it T of X, okay? The transformation, all right? We're good? Okay, now we're going to talk about a reflection. I told you a reflection was when you did what to your graph? Write it down again. Multiply by -1. And once you write that down, all pencils and iPads down. I want to see your eyeballs. Because this is super mega important. It's outside the parentheses. Now, if it's outside, what kind of reflection should it be? Vertical or horizontal? Vertical. Check this out. A reflection is like a mirror image. Do you guys agree? You see like your reflection? If I reflect something vertically, what axis am I reflecting it over?
Y, X.
The x-axis, okay? So, when you reflect something vertically, you are reflecting it over the x-axis. Now, if that negative is inside the parentheses, it changes. What kind of transformation is it now? It's horizontal. Watch. If I horizontally reflect something from left to right, what axis am I reflecting it over? The y-axis. Okay? Let's check it out. So we're going to do 2 examples. We are not going to graph these, okay? We're just going to talk about their reflections. So if g of x, which is our transformation, is taking f of x and it's multiplying it by a negative outside the parentheses, what kind of transformation would this be? It's vertical. Is this a reflection or a translation? Reflection. Why?
Multiplying by -1.
Excellent. It's being multiplied by -1. Now comes the tricky part that throws everyone off. If it's a vertical reflection, watch me up here. If I am taking something from top to bottom and reflecting it, what axis am I reflecting it over? The x-axis. Okay? Think about the x-axis as being your mirror, right? Do you agree that if there was a mirror on the x-axis, you would flip from top to bottom? Now, if your mirror was on the y-axis, you'd be flipping from left to right. That's a horizontal reflection, okay? So, take a look at number 2. H of x equals f of negative x. This is still a reflection, correct? But it's what kind of reflection? Horizontal. Because the negative is where? Inside the parentheses. So this is a horizontal reflection. And if you horizontally reflect something, what axis are you reflecting over? The y-axis.
Wherever the -1 is, that's what you determine.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Wait, so if we horizontal, like if we were to vertically reflect something, it's always going to be on the x-axis.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And if you horizontally reflect something, it will always be over the y-axis. Okay? Yes? The number one? Number 1 was a vertical reflection. Okay? Because the negative was outside. Gabriel?
How do you know what axis it's over?
Okay, so if it's vertical, go top to bottom.
Why?
Look at what I'm reflecting over. What axis am I reflecting over?
The y.
You sure?
Up and down.
What axis is right here that you're reflecting over?
X.
The x, okay? So that's a reflection over the x-axis, okay? Now, if it's vertical, right, and you're reflecting left to right, what axis am I reflecting over?
Y.
That's the y-axis, okay? All right. Let's do the next two. G of x equals negative f of x. Vertical, horizontal. Why?
Because the -1 is outside.
Good. Is it a reflection or a translation? Reflection. Over what axis? Over the x-axis. Yeah, AJ.
So it's over the x-axis when the negative's outside.
Mm-hmm.
It's inside is y.
Over the y-axis. A little bit confusing because we usually think of when it's outside as y, right? And when it's inside as x or horizontal. So this one you kind of have to think visually, like, what am I reflecting over? Yes?
I do to remember, once I figure out where the -1 is, and we determine if it's vertical or horizontal, I know the vertical y.
Yep. Yeah, what's up?
So you look at your negative to see whether it's going to be horizontal.
Correct. You locate where it is, okay? So on this guy, on the next one, the negative is where?
Inside.
Inside. So it has to be what kind of transformation? Horizontal. So write that down. So it's horizontal. What kind of transformation is it? Reflection. Why? What made it a reflection and not a translation? Gabriel?
The f is on the outside.
No, oh,
What made it a reflection, not a translation? Matthew?
The negative x.
What about it?
It's like -1 basically.
It's multiplying by -1, right? If we had x minus 1 inside the parentheses, what kind of transformation would that be? A translation. Do you guys agree? You guys see the difference? Reflection is when you're multiplying by negative. Translation is when you're adding or subtracting. Which axis would it be over? Over the y-axis. All right, this is where we're stopping. Turn these in.